Hi folks, and welcome to another installment of Apps for Success. As always, I am your host, John Bowman, and this month we're going to be talking about the single most important app to set you and your team up for success. Do you know what it is? It's your calendar. There's a great saying that says, you and Beyonce get the same 24 hours in a day, right? What do you think the difference is? It's how you use it, and your calendar helps you to make sure that you use it well. Today in this episode, we're going to be going over a couple of techniques I actually learned in a Success Hacker training course. They've really been instrumental in helping me to take my productivity to the next level. I wanted to do this app in conjunction with the app we just did, Google Keep, because I'm going to show you sort of my system of what I use Google Keep and then how it works for my everyday calendar. Before we jump into there, I do have a joke for you, like always. You ready? What do you call a hen that counts her eggs? Give up. A mathemachicken. I always mess that up. Mathemachicken. All right, folks, thanks for watching. On to the app. We're inside Google Calendar. Now, this is just a fictitious setup I've got here for you, right? I'm just going to give you a basic overview of how this works. This is a weekly view, right? You can see Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. You can see those events which are already on my calendar. Now, these events are mostly reoccurring events, and we can go into more depth on them. For example, obviously a company meeting is one that we go to weekly and make sure people are aligned, etc. Maybe we've got a sales synced with the other managers or whomever in order to make sure we're aligned on our goals and what's going on there. Again, there's one-on-ones. All these kind of stuff are like weekly reoccurring meetings that you have to go to. Now, why are we here? It's because this time, and probably more of your time, is already taken up, right? Every single week you have responsibilities you need to do. On top of that, you've got fires, you've got customers, you've got people vying for your attention. You only get so many hours in the day, from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., right? We want to make sure we use those effectively. So, that's why we're here. That's why we're talking about the calendar. Now, in the top left, there's this idea of create. It's a big button. When you click it, you can start an event, right? We just call it an event, or we can make it a reminder, right? Or we can make it a task. Now, I usually don't do tasks because, like I said, my capture tool is Google Keep. We'll go into that in a little bit. But you can add tasks directly onto the calendar as well, okay? A reminder is just what it says. It's a reminder to do something, right? You can make it an all day. You can make it repeat. You can say a specific date and time. We're going to be talking about events here, okay? Now, the events, you can add guests, you can add locations, you can add a description, but this is just a quick way to add an event to your calendar. We can save it, right? Very easy. Added that event down here. Now, we can add another event, but let's say we're going to make this for tomorrow. And that event that we're going to make for tomorrow, we're going to make it a little bit earlier in the day, perhaps around 3 p.m. We're going to give more options. I love clicking more options. Now, you can also, instead of clicking, let's click more options. It didn't work. There we go. More options. So here, more options, you have more ways to edit and change this event. You can add more conferencing, right? We can say this is going to be a Google Hangout. We can give ourselves a notification, either an email or a little push notification to let us know. We can change the color, change who it's assigned to, which specific calendar it's on. I love this option. This is something that's often overlooked by folks, this idea of being free or busy. Now, I love to select free on reoccurring meetings, right? Especially those meetings where it's okay if I don't do it during that time frame. But generally speaking, keep yourself busy, right? Default visibility, public, private, etc. I don't tend to mess around with this. I usually leave it as default visibility. If I want to keep something private and just block off time, I'll just type in the word busy at the top. Now, the description is probably almost the most important part about it whenever you set up a calendar event. One quick tip I love to do is I love to create standard operating procedures, right? So if you just go to docs.new, you automatically create a new Google Doc. And here in the Google Doc, there's probably like a checklist of some sort, right? And so we're just going to create that checklist. again and again. It's really cool. We can say this is a example. Oh, there we go. Check this. Perfect. We're going to hit that share option, and in the share option, we're just going to get a shareable link. Once we have a shareable link, we'll copy it. We'll come back to this busy event that we're going to make repeat, right? But before we do, we're going to say go through this doc. We can link it in there. Perfect. Now say this is a event that repeats. A repeat is really easy to understand. Basically, you can have this repeat daily, weekly on Mondays, monthly on the third Monday, annually, every weekday, etc., or custom. But the idea is that this time slot is just going to be taken up inside your calendar on whatever time interval that you're selecting from here. So every month, monthly on the 5th day of the 15th, right? It never ends, or we can say it's going to end after this particular time frame or this many occurrences. We save it. There we go. So again, all we're doing is saying every Monday on the 15th of the month, we have this special event that's got this doc that helps us, so we can just click it and start getting things done, right? What you need to do is start giving yourself agendas. Start giving yourself docs to work from. Start giving yourself checklists. Because the whole point of using your calendar as your command center is to reduce friction to getting the work done when you need to do it. So that's how you create an event, right? And those are the options you can do inside of there. Now this is really easy too, because you can go back to different months. You know, we can say, show me February 1st. Now there's not gonna be anything on there because this is, again, just test data. But we can see this is the date we have here for July. We can also add other people inside of our organization. Any birthdays or follow-ups or reminders we have in there are great. We can also add in any conference rooms that we want to put in there. Totally an option as well. Additionally, in the top right, you're going to notice we can say, okay, I want to see the yearly view. I want to see a monthly view. I want to see our weekly view. And I want to see our daily view. Right? You can go cycle through all of those. Never underestimate the power of the settings menu inside your calendar, because not only can you get add-ons to it, right, but you can change things like density and color, right? I love changing that. I especially like black text personally. You can make it responsive to your screen, or you can make it smaller. I like making it smaller personally. Not only that, but if you go into the settings, once you go into the settings, there's a ton of different options here that are important and you can take a look at, right? But for event settings, probably the biggest one I love to play around with here is default duration. I try to keep myself to 30 minutes all the time, just 30 minutes. Because again, taking an hour-long meeting really eats up productivity, right? And defaults matter. Defaults become quickly how much time you set aside for things, especially if you try to be respectful of others' time and the time that you've booked on their calendars. So changing that is really great. You can also enable keyboard shortcuts. We're not going to go over that, but keyboard shortcuts can also set your life. It's pretty cool. There we are. So we got 30 minutes, which is wonderful. Your time zone, obviously, all that kind of stuff is really easy. Sorry, I just zoomed in there. There we are. So always go to your settings, folks. Always go to your settings. The search is handy dandy. If you're ever looking for a particular customer's name or email, obviously put it inside of there. If you want to see things like, management meetings. Oh, looks like I typed that in wrong. There we go. MGMT. Do a search. My apologies. Click the wrong button. Got fat fingers today. There we are. So we got a management meeting on this Wednesday, right? Or you can say whatever meeting type you want. This is all just very basic calendar stuff. You should all be aware that you can do this. You should also be aware that you can add other people's calendars here. If you're an organization with open calendars, very, very handy to do. Now, why are we talking about calendars today? Okay? We're talking about it because, again, you need to start being intentional with the time that you spend on things. And the way that you're intentional is you block off the time you need to do what you need to do. Now, the bigger question is probably, how do you know what you should be doing, right? This all kind of relates back to this idea of being intentional with your time or planning your time. So I wanted to show you sort of how this all works together. One, we've got Google Keep here, right? Google Keep, we talked about this previously. This is the capture tool I prefer. And I've just got some sample data in here, but I wanted to show you specifically for planning purposes. We've got, yearly to-dos, we've got quarterly to-dos, we've got monthly to-dos, we've got weekly to-dos, and we've got daily to-dos, right? And then just sort of long-term stuff, this big bucket that I know I want to work on inside of customer success. Now, most organizations will do a yearly planning process, or sometimes some orgs do multi-year. But during that yearly planning process, you're probably going to come up with different goals you're attempting to reach. That's great. You should reach those goals. Here's how you should do it. You set that goal for 365 days out, right? I love the idea of coming directly into the calendar, and you go all the way out to July of 2020, and we put in our yearly goal, right? Just like so. Whatever that was, put it out there. Next, what you're going to do is you're going to take those yearly goal and you're going to break it down into quarterly goals, right? You've got 4 quarters to work on this, right? Doesn't have to be quarterly. Some places don't work on quarterly agendas. For example, I know Basecamp is all about the 60-day cycle, right? They only work on those things they think have the impact, the highest amount of impact they can get done within 60 days. That's cool. Maybe your org is that way too. But in general, people do quarterly planning. So you take your yearly planning, right, what you want to get done, you break it up into quarters, you break it up into different parts. You take those constituent parts and you break those down into monthly, right? And then from the monthly, you do weekly, and then from weekly, you do daily. And it's waterfall, essentially from one to the other. Now, this is where your calendar comes in, okay? So we already added in that yearly goal. But if we go back to today, how are we going to make our yearly goal work, right? Well, again, you probably want to start with quarterly goals. And for whatever reason, let's pretend like the quarter starts tomorrow. So what I love to do is I love to put in a nice little reminder. Quarter starts, right? All day. And I'm going to make this repeat custom every 3 months so that I know every month, hey, look, this is the start of the quarter. Really easy, right? Quarter starts there. Now, what you should also do, though, is think about your planning process. Because let's say, if the quarter starts tomorrow, then a week from then should have been the date that projects for the quarter, right, are finalized, right? And if that week is when they're supposed to be finalized, then a week back should have been, date the project's ideas are submitted, right? So the idea here, and basically what I'm doing is just creating a timeline. You're creating a checklist, a T-minus. From the date that the quarter starts, we have an event that tells us projects for the quarter have submitted, right? We can take this event, and the beauty here is we make it repeat. Again, we custom. We say, you know what, every 3 months, this event is going to show up on my calendar. This is essentially putting your quarterly planning on autopilot. It's going to make sure nothing ever falls through the cracks, folks, all right? You can make this happen so that you are never forgetting to do something, okay? So you want to do that for your quarterly goals. You want to do that for your monthly goals. You want to do that for your weekly goals. And you want to use your Google Keep to capture your to-dos, right? If you capture something that's a new monthly to-do based upon a goal you're trying to reach, you put it in here. Once you've got it in here, that's great. That's a monthly to-do. Your quarterly to-dos, again, should break down to your monthly to-dos, should break down to your weekly to-dos, should break down to your daily to-dos. You can literally take your daily to-dos, and this is what you should do. You go back to your weekly calendar, and these are all my reoccurring meetings. There's one-on-ones, there's management meetings, there's Salesforce cleanup work, there's company customer emails I have to send out. There's setup meetings to worry about. I don't have a lot of time, and I'm sure you can relate because you have so many reoccurring things, so many internal meetings. You know what's not even on here are customer meetings. What are those times you have to talk with customers? But you want to take your daily to-dos, literally just click the create event, paste in when you're going to email Tim, right? That's great. When am I going to run this report for churn from last week? Literally just click in, I got time, put it in. When should you be doing this, folks? This is the other part that's really important with calendars. I like to do this on Sunday. Essentially what I do is I create a reflect and plan the week. I do a reminder every single Sunday whereby I remind myself to take a look at the week and plan out what needs to be done. This reflection and planning of the week is the number one thing that David Allen says separates high productive people from low productive people. Is you take a look at your calendar, you take a look at your to-do list, and you slot in your to-dos into your actual calendar. You treat it like a command center. If it's not on your calendar, you can't do it. And you should guard this jealously. Your time is your most important asset. And blocking your calendar, making sure other people can't just block off time whenever, or pushing back, like let's say, I don't need to be in this meeting, send it out, delete it out, folks. Make sure you're not going to it. But that's just a general way how your calendar and your to-do should be working together. An overview of your Google Calendar. I hope you liked it. Again, I hope you liked the idea of having these two work in synergy. We didn't even get a chance to talk about email. I'm going to give you a quick email tip that I actually learned inside of the Success Hacker training that I mentioned earlier. I love to think about email in two separate ways, right? First is this idea of processing. Process email. And we're going to make this again it's 30 minutes. It's going to repeat every weekday at 9:30 a.m. So every day I get in, and when I do is I process my email. What I mean by that is I go into my email inbox and I see what's important. Now this is just obviously promotions, but let's say Stitch Fix is important. Got it, right? Let's going to add in another one. There we go. So these emails that I've marked as priority, or if you want to, you can come up with your own labeling system, right? You can come in and you can say, I'm going to star these, or I'm going to create a label, or whatever it is that you want to do, right? So set up labels as social or change them around. It doesn't really matter, folks. But the point is, this is the processing. You come in, you take a look at emails, and you see which ones are important. The next thing that you do is you block off time in your calendar to actually get those emails done. Email work, right? So you're going to say, there we go. We set up the more options, and we make them repeat every day. And this is when you actually do the work you're supposed to do in those emails, right? A lot of people don't really think of emails this way sometimes, but your emails are essentially a public to-do list. Anyone from anywhere can send you an email, and you're responsible for getting back to them. We are in customer-facing positions, folks. So again, it's important to say, all right, these are the important ones. These are the ones I'm going to work on. And having that intentionality behind your time will really work wonders for you. Well, that's everything I have for you today. As always, I want to thank you for your time, for watching. I really appreciate it. That's all for Apps for Success this week.